Hey, this is Pamela Schneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, I see you're back in the office now, but you had a couple of key takeaways from PMA Food Service, mostly some innovations that I hadn't seen before out there in the marketplace. What were those?
Yeah, I talked about some of the things I was learning at the expo from right outside the expo a week ago. And I didn't get into the specifics yet, but the general thought was there were a lot of products that were value added with the idea that labor is tight and it's even tighter at the food service level. And two products that really stood out to me kind of are similar in the way that they are really good items that have a little bit of trouble making inroads into food service. And what I'm talking about is grapes and mangoes. And one of the products that Maglio company had is they had mango cheeks, which were vacuum sealed and just sliced the sides off the mango. And that way food service operators could get that and then basically just make a couple quick cuts and then get it right out, as opposed to getting a whole mango and having to make a lot of cuts. And it's an intimidating item. And even when you know what you're doing, it still takes some labor. And then the other product is grapes. And grapes kind of have a hard time in food service because they don't, even when they fit into something, it doesn't fit in great when it's a whole grape. So we had HMC Farms who had a bag of sliced grapes, basically, and it's a great product, and I hope they have success with it, and I hope it gets embraced, because that's the kind of thing that can make it much easier to get those into salads or even on top of sandwiches. And grapes do add a lot different flavor profile than many of the other items that are out there and available, and this makes it easier to deal with.
Yeah, the grape thing for me was like, wow. I mean, grapes are such a pain. There, I mean, number one, slip, trip, and fall hazard from retail point of view. They're just complicated to deal with. And the picture that you showed from the expo of the sliced grapes, they actually looked really appealing. And to throw that into a salad, I think is tremendous for grapes, because they're kind of a category that there have a lot of innovation going on, but it's always lately it has been innovation in flavor. Gumdrops and cotton candy and sweet celebrations. We got a lot of branded grapes going on, but as far as that doesn't get them any farther than a package showing what's in there. So to see them that they're getting there and trying to make it a little easier to deal with mangoes too. I mean, I talk about mangoes all the time, and I'm even guilty of, letting mangoes go bad on my counter because I just don't want to deal with doing the cutting myself. My husband knows how to cut mangoes, but he'll just let them go wrinkly and gross and die on the counter because he doesn't want to deal with it. But if I actually prep the mangoes for everyone, the whole giant bowl is gone in like 2 days. So, I mean, that's got commercial use for food service and retail as well. So some cool innovations coming out of food service. And I'm sure beyond it was great to see you. We've got a couple more coming up soon. So I'm on the docket to go back to Monterey in September, and also to Southern Innovations in Savannah, back-to-back weeks. A lot of travel, a lot of fun.
Well, since you mentioned the organic event, which will be mid-September, so 6 weeks or so, we just found out this week that they added to their education program, and they're going to do another controlled atmosphere, or CEA, whatever. I always forget what that acronym. It's greenhouses.
Controlled Environment Agriculture.
Controlled Environment Ag. Okay, I don't use that acronym. I'm not an acronym fan. Anyway, they added a second workshop, and it's a big deal, and it's growing. And we've had several more stories. It seems like every week we have CEA type stories. What do you think some of the highlights were?
Well, for the Organic Produce Summit, CEA is really controversial when it comes to organics because then there's the two sides. There's the people who are organic is taking care of the soil, and then there's the people who are organic is no pesticides. And so, oftentimes you don't have to use the pesticides that you do outdoors when you grow inside. So it's a natural fit there. But if you're talking about stewards of the land and soil health, a greenhouse is not it. So that's really fascinating that they added another session about CEA agriculture. But in the broader scheme of things, they have to be talking about this because every week we're seeing millions and millions of dollars go into investments for CEA agriculture. Just this week, App Harvest, which is connected to Master Minority Produce, it's in Kentucky. They got another $91 million of investment for growing tomatoes in Kentucky. I mean, there's a lot of money going into CEA Agriculture. They also hired an Amazon executive to be their chief of robotics. What was it? I can't even remember. So they've got new people, new money coming in. And then we also saw the in-farm installations, which is something I saw first in London a couple of years ago. Well, actually a year and a half ago, one of that last store checks before the world shut down. I saw an in-farm installation at Marks and Spencer, and it's, when you think of in-farm, the photo they send you is this cutesy little like mini greenhouse that goes in a produce department. But
it looks like one of those little fridges that poor merchandisers use for flowers.
Oh yeah. If they don't have like a big floral department, they just have the little case, the grab and go case. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that little fridge.
Yeah, so they've got those, and that's the vision that I had what that in-farm is. And they sent out a news release today that says they're expanding their relationship with Sobeys in Canada. And it's actually this massive indoor control, like vertical farm situation thing that is way bigger than anything that I thought of. And it was like, well, that's how they're going to scale up. They're going to have an actual greenhouse and not just a theater of food greenhouse. So
right, it's 37,000 square feet.
Yeah.
The one in Ontario near the Toronto Metro.
Yeah.
That is not a little fridge.
No, that's actual money, dollars, and volume. And not just, remember back in the day when all these retailers talked about doing rooftop farms for like basil and stuff like that. I remember having one of the Fresh Summit receptions was actually on the rooftop garden of a Rouse's in New Orleans. And that's cute, but that's not practical for actual volumes of things. So that's just showing you that, we can raise awareness of controlled atmosphere or controlled environment agriculture, but there's also a behind the scenes of here's where we're actually growing the volume to be able to supply multiple stores in multiple regions.
Yeah, you have to reach the masses, and those rooftop things were always going to be niche and silly, but not macro in any way.
Yeah, when we talk about little containers, though, some of those container ones, we had another container one that was home farms and having your own micro farm, and I was like, how are they going to get people to grow their own stuff in their own micro farm? The food safety of it, and then you noticed all the tags were cannabis, and I was like, oh, that's
yeah.
That's not you're growing your own lettuce, but not that kind of lettuce.
Yeah.
That kind of thing makes a little more sense.
Store checks. So I wasn't the only one traveling the past few weeks. You traveled around the Austin metro area, right?
You know what? I saw you out there in California getting to see all these people, and I'm just kind of in a little bit of a jealous rut. So I decided to hop in the car and go look at stores here in Austin to see what's going on. I mean, I think a lot of us over the last 18 months have gotten in, I will call it a rut, but a routine of either grocery pickup more often or just buzzing through the store as fast as you can because you got used to it when you're pandemic shopping, and now you're like, I don't need to spend, gesticulate a little less.
Okay.
You're like, I don't need to spend that much time in the store. But I'm like, is it a correlation or a causation that I'm in a food rut and nothing is exciting anymore? So I did what I needed to do. And even though I'm not out on the road seeing, you know, all these different states and all these amazing retailers, I will soon. I got a lot of trips planned for this fall, hopefully. I decided to hop in the car and see what's in my backyard. So I went to Randall's, which I rarely go to. Trader Joe's, I try to avoid Trader Joe's because it's an $80 trip regardless of what I get. Sprouts, I went to my favorite Sprouts in Austin, which is the Great Hills Trail one. The guys there do an amazing job. And then I trekked all the way down to Central Market just to get out of my comfort zone. And I spent time in the stores, walking around, really looking at things and really being inspired by some of the stuff there. That $80 cautionary tale at Trader Joe's, I pretty much repeated at every store. Whoops.
So you guys are eating well this week.
We are eating a lot of stone fruit. I'm going to tell you, that's one of the things that we're eating a lot of because there's some amazing stuff out there. I decided to go on a trek for my favorite plum. It was called the Red Raven, and it was, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. So it's got black skin and red interior, and so when you cut it, it looks like it's bleeding. Everybody in my family loves that plum, so I was looking around for it. I didn't find that name, but I found some versions of it that are very similar. H-E-B had a beautiful display of these apriums in this pouch bag out on the end cap, telling about what it is in there. And Sprouts had some really cool things going on. They have self-service checkout. I've never seen that in a Sprouts before. They kind of changed the way that they're displaying things. They cut out all Red Delicious apples. I didn't see any of them there. And then they had a beautiful stone fruit display that was a lot more farmer's market-like with a lot higher end stone fruit, a lot of funky varieties. And then they just had this beautiful like wave of color in the little compostable baskets. Just inspiring. I came home with a lot of melons too. I put my little cantaloupe painting up there just to remind me of the melons. We're gonna have a little taste test with the boys on some that I've seen people talking about on social media, like the lemon drop melon and some sweet one that they were both H-E-B branded. And then in Randall's, I saw these other ones. The candy brand of melons is just a brilliant branding strategy. Because it also like automatically makes you think of sweet. So I got a couple of those because branding works and marketing works. So it just proves that those of us in this industry, even if it's in your own backyard, you need to get out and spend some time in the store and really relearn how to appreciate shopping. And I think a lot of consumers over the next few months, hopefully, will learn to reappreciate shopping, or retailers are going to have to find a way to get consumers to spend some time on their online shopping and dig around. And what is that inspiration and how are they going to do that?
Well, sampling is a big part of that. And I've noticed in the past couple of months, almost every store I've been in, including farmers markets, have sampling all over the place. And that's something that we noted a year ago, that we're really going to miss this, and this is going to hurt the industry. And I think it did hurt some areas. I mean, obviously it didn't hurt citrus, but it did hurt some areas, and it hurts introductions of new ideas and new products. So it's really good to see that back.
Yeah, I did notice actually, I at H-E-B and Costco, of course, Costco is like the lunchtime sample destination. The last couple of times I've been there, I've noticed that the sample people are back with their little tables. It's a little bit different than it used to be, but it's back, and I think we'll see it grow even more over the next few months. And that is one of the things that I think a lot of people missed, especially marketers in the produce industry, trying to figure out ways for new introductions, new product launches, coverage coming up in the September-October issue of Produce Blueprints about successful product launches and flops. I mean, what worked, what didn't, and what'd you learn? So had a lot of fun talking about those topics, and just getting out to see the stores kind of gave me a little taste of what I've been missing. And so hopefully I will be able to get out on the road again soon and see some more stores out of my backyard when I get back on the road. Well, until then, that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up and have some watermelons. Some more watermelons.
Oh yeah. We're almost done with that $13 watermelon.
Yeah, your $13 watermelon. That's what you got at the farmer's market.
The farmer's market right across the street from the Aldi. And I am going to the Aldi pretty much right after this. And that farmer's market's there, and Annie wants to get some really good peaches. And I looked at the peaches at the farmer's market, and they had these beautiful little baskets, and had Missouri peaches, and it was like $13 for 8 to 10 of them. Like, $13.
Yeah, you know,
I'd really buy a couple steaks for that much.
The luckiest I've gotten with my stone fruit this season, well, the peach truck, those peaches were excellent. And then I have some Lorianne peaches that from Central Market that I just bought from my trek around the stores. But the best peaches I've gotten were not peaches, they were nectarines. And I got them at Costco. And so, I mean, I've bought pouch bags of Texas peaches. I bought flats of peaches. I bought, but the boxed nectarines, best thing we've gotten all summer as far as stone fruit goes. Well, except for, I mean, cherries.
Cherries have been really good.
Really good.
And pretty cheap.
So, I mean, that was the thing, is that when I'm store checking and driving all around, I'm like, I'll buy these plums, I'll buy these peaches, I'll buy these nectarines, I'll buy these cherries. And I get home and everyone's like, what? And then I made a huge bowl of them for dinner. I just cut it up, and completely, every piece got eaten. So zero remorse for spending all that money on stone fruit, because you got to eat it when it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy shopping.